Hello and welcome to episode 35 of Game Patrol. I'm your host, Landon Plumley, everybody, and I've got some wonderful peeperinos, some super Ninfrendos with me today. And yeah, let's introduce good old Justin Gephart's back. How you doing, buddy?
I'm back. It has been a minute. I'm doing great.
That's
Happy
awesome.
to be back.
I'm awesome. I'm excited to hear you. Literally, I am excited just to hear you talk about Immortals Phoenix Rising. We will get to that. I'm very excited because I want to hear your thoughts because we still haven't talked about it in all this time. So
No, we haven't.
yeah, I'm very excited to talk about that. And then we got good old Trace with us yet again, the only person who I can count on in my life.
Yay.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for that excellent insight. All right.
Love that enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got some cool stuff to talk about today. And the first thing I wanted to get into, as we've actually got some pretty cool news this week, but nothing in a sense of like major discussion. And so I kind of wanted to loop back to something that mostly took place last week. And that was with the big Lucasfilm Games reveals. We got, we're getting a new Indiana Jones game. We're getting a new Star Wars game with Ubisoft. And to clarify, because this is some information I actually just found out today. So, some of you may know that EA has an exclusivity deal with Star Wars games, right? That lasts for another 3 years, actually. And so, basically, Disney has given these other developers, be like, hey, y'all can market your game. And basically, what's being said to us is kind of being, what's the word? Insinuated is that as soon as that deal is up, we're going to get other stuff. So if I were to guess, I'd say that this Ubisoft Massive game, this open world Star Wars game, is probably going to release in 2023 because that is exactly when the exclusivity deal ends. And so at least assuming it doesn't get delayed, because that can happen. But I would say that is what they're targeting because it seems that Disney is not a fan of how EA has handled Star Wars for the last decade, and the fact that they've only released like 2 or 3 good games in that 10-year span. I think they're doing well now. It's just it took them like 7 out of the 10 years to get it right. So yeah, I don't think Disney exactly wants to extend that anytime soon, and I don't blame them. But the topic that I wanted to get into here is, are licensed games making a comeback? Because we're seeing all this stuff happening. We're seeing all these licensed games being announced, specifically with the Lucasfilm games and the James Bond games with IO Interactive. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, we saw a ton of licensed games. Basically, everything that had a movie had a game, right? Or, be it comic books or TV shows or this or that, everything had a video game, right? We talked about this a little bit, Trace, last week with Dexter's Laboratory, the game for the Game Boy, which I owned. But everything's got, yeah.
Game, by the way.
To each his own. But there was a lot of licensed games, and they started becoming really, really bad, and so they kind of went away for a while. And so now it's gotten to the point where, people are a little more hesitant with their licenses, and now we're starting to see perhaps a return. And so I wanted to talk about that. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts, Justin, because I figured this was something, because I know you're a big media buff like I am, like outside of games too. You like to watch, like, you're as big a nerd as I am. So, what are your thoughts about this whole thing?
Yes, sir. I'm pretty I'm excited. I mean, of course, I'm super excited with, especially Star Wars games. Huge Star Wars fan, always have been. Loved all the original Star Wars games, the Lucasfilm games. And so I'm excited, but also, of course, cautious, like you just said, because, majority of games that have been being made by developers and the games we've been getting have been good, so it's kind of scary to see them kind of throwing this big change up where we're going to start getting these licensed games now, but also of course hopeful. I love Star Wars, I love Indiana Jones, so I would love to see those games turn out well.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, again, I agree. I think, cautious optimism, right? But I do think, like, specifically in terms of Star Wars, this whole deal is a good thing. You know, instead of EA having this monopoly over Star Wars content, it's now being dispersed to different things. Like, we could see, I don't know, like, I literally, the first person I thought of was Ubisoft, which is making one, and then the second person I thought of was Bethesda, which is also making a Lucasfilm game. So I'm like, well, who else? Honest, I forgets all developers. Like, see Microsoft making a Star Wars game. Like, that'd be pretty dope. Or like Sony, or dude, a Mario Star Wars crossover. Like, think about how cool that would be. Just like,
I just thought you could see Microsoft making not like Halo style, like almost similar to Halo, but like from the perspective of like a stormtrooper would be interesting.
If
or a clone, something like that.
If Halo, or not Halo, if EA didn't own, I don't know. I don't know what the rights would be for that, since it's technically Star Wars. But like, to see 343 or just some developer in Microsoft handle, just have 343 handle Battlefront 3. That would be really dope. I think that'd be cool.
That'd be dope.
But, you know, I'm not sure exactly, because, like, you can't say that EA owns the license for Battlefront. I don't think they would. I would assume it. I would assume it would be Lucasfilm Games or, you know, Disney, you know, all that stuff.
I would assume after all this, it would be their choice of, you know,
yeah,
who produces that game.
Although, if I had to guess, I would say, because with the success that Battlefront 2 is at right now, I don't think Lucasfilm would yank that away from EA. Like, I think EA is going to continue to make Jedi Fallen Order games for as long as they possibly can, because that was massively successful.
Yeah.
And I think they'll give them at least one more shot with a Battlefront game. And
really, after they fixed Battlefront 2, and now it's, although probably not as high of player count as they wish, you know, they still have a lot of loyal fans who love it. I mean, I love it now. I was not a big fan of it at first, but I love it now, and I've played it quite a bit. So, like, if they can, you know, say, hey, like, we learned our lesson, and we're going to take what we learned from fixing Battlefront 2 and make a third one just as good, if not better, I think Disney would be like, okay, yeah, like, go ahead.
Personally, I have high expectations for a Battlefront 3 from EA, because I think, because of all the lessons they learned from 2, I think that if they were to make a 3, which I think they want to, I feel like, you know, we know that they're working on the next Battlefield right now, right? And I feel like after that, seeing the success that Battlefield 2 has had in the past year or two, I feel like that would inspire them to make a third if they get Lucasfilm's consent, which I feel like can happen. But anyway, you know, just, see people experimenting with the Star Wars license, because I think there's so much room with Star Wars specifically. And, you know, Lucasfilm Games, they own more than that, as we see with Indiana Jones. And so, you know, I'm excited to see, you know, more people experiment, because, I mean, like, this whole topic, are licensed games making a comeback? With that, I do feel like, you know, if they are making a comeback, I feel like, you know, 10 years down the line, I think we'll approach that exact same point we reached 2 decades ago, where it will become oversaturated. And I don't know if we're doomed to be in this ebb and flow of, like, you know, we make a bunch and then they become really crappy, and then we stop for a while and then they start slowly coming back, and you know, like, that sort of thing. I don't know, but Trace, I wanted to know your thoughts about, you know, licensed games in general, not necessarily Star Wars and Lucasfilm, but just like, because again, they announced a James Bond game made by the developers of Hitman, and, you know, just seeing more stuff like, you know, the Marvel Spider-Man franchise and Avengers and all this stuff. You know, what are your thoughts about licensed games, and, you know, do you think they're coming back, that sort of thing? Just,
I mean, I feel like it's kind of in the middle, if we're gonna be honest.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know how to I don't know how to elaborate, and because for me, like, what's going through my head is a lot right now. So, like, the easiest way that I could put it, I feel like there's some games that they make that are coming back, and there's some that they'll make and they just won't, like, at all, and they'll just be a flop.
For sure, yeah. And I feel like I guess the aspect of like how things trend and things going viral nowadays, I think lifespans of games are becoming a lot shorter, which is funny because games as a service keeps trying to be a thing. Destiny's the only game that can successfully do that. Like, or honestly, like, to an extent, Call of Duty, but they always come out with a new one every year. So, like, yes and no. And so, like, it's funny that people's attention spans keeps getting shorter and shorter, yet game developers are trying harder and harder to keep people hooked on one game, which makes sense because, you know, you want that with the microtransactions and everything. Like Fortnite makes a ton of money, but it's just very difficult because I feel like that's going to be harder and harder to achieve. But what I mean by that is, you know, like you said, like if some licensed game, like for instance this James Bond game, right? This is the first James Bond game we're getting in, I feel like, since like 2009. Just throwing that out in the wind there. I don't know if that's accurate. So it's been a long time since we've gotten a James Bond game. If this flops, you know, like we probably won't see one for a fat minute. I mean, Star Wars games, they're coming out all the time. So, well, sort of at this point. But, you know, I feel like, you know, if this Ubisoft game doesn't perform well, you know, they've got other developers they can go to. Star Wars isn't going to go away anytime soon, right? But, you know, with more risky things like James Bond or like, for instance, Avengers, right? Now, the game isn't necessarily doomed. They have a content plan for it, but we'll see whether or not we see any more Avengers content. I would imagine we probably will in some form of like a Marvel thing, maybe akin to like Spider-Man, but like an Avengers game, like a full Avengers game, dicey.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the games that are out longer and they tend to like stay out and they don't like make newer games like with the same company, I feel like those last longer. Like, have you seen how long Fortnite has been up and it hasn't died off yet? And Epic hasn't really made another game. They just release free games. And that's the same with Rocket League. They just stay consistent and they don't just die off. That's why I feel like they stay popular.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's true. As long as they, because all of those games have consistent updates, right? You know, like Rocket League, it had consistent seasonal updates and changes and different modes and different things. Fortnite keeps doing crazy new things for the games industry, and you see all this stuff, whereas you see other games that have tried to do similar things like Anthem. Anthem is committed to making big changes, but it's not happening, right? Like,
I forgot about Anthem.
there's still people working on it. This is still a thing. There's like 6 people, and I'm not exaggerating. They literally have a team of like 6 people that are working on just trying to fix Anthem.
And I mean, if you look at it, GTA's still up and running, and it's still perfectly fine.
I was gonna say GTA.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, you have a stream of consistent updates and work being put into it. But then people also wonder, where's GTA 6? And it's like, well, you also have this team supporting this game, and these people still spending money on this game. And people wonder where GTA 6 is at.
And you still have people spending a lot of money on GTA 5.
Exactly. I mean, that's the point. You have these microtransactions. And so, like, that's why I don't want to necessarily condemn Avengers to death, because in at least in comparison to Anthem, it's done more to continue to sustain itself. I don't think it's done as well as, say, Battlefront 2 or what's another game that came back after a while? No Man's Sky. You know, I think the two of those showed a little bit more initiative, but I don't necessarily think it's too late for Avengers yet, because they had a lot of post content planned, and so I don't want to condemn it yet, because I think it's still in that realm of being saved. I think it's too late for Anthem. I mean, maybe. Because here's the thing. Final Fantasy XIV was a disaster when it launched, and they completely shut the servers down, and then they just did a complete relaunch as if it were a brand new game, and that came back. So I don't even necessarily want to say Anthem's a failure too, because if they were to do something completely different, which is kind of what they have implied they're doing, you know, maybe. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you keep giving people new content, and I think that's why, like, Destiny 2, like, yes, there is a dedicated group, of course, but I do think the Destiny hype has kind of died down a little bit, because in a sense I think it's kind of getting a little stale. I still haven't checked out the Beyond Light expansion, but You know, I hear less and less about Destiny as the time goes on, but and I think Halo Infinite is trying to tap into that with their. I mean, they announced that the multiplayer component would be free, and they also announced that they were going to. I don't know, it was really confusing how they worded it. Like, they said that this was going to be like the future of Halo, as if it was going to be continuing somehow. So I don't know if they just meant the multiplayer, or if somehow the campaign, like, are we going to get DLC? Like, what does that mean? And so it sounds like they want Halo Infinite to be around for a while. So, yeah, you're seeing more and more games do this, but it also is tricky to do that because of A, people's lessening attention spans, and just B, more competition. I mean, more and more games are getting released every single year, and especially with the influence of indie games becoming more and more out in the spotlight. I mean, Hades was an indie game, and it won Game of the Year at IGN, and it is my personal Game of the Year. I love Hades so much, and so, you know, like, all this stuff, there's a lot to consider, but yeah. And so with that, I do want to talk a little bit about, I guess, I mean, I'm looking at, like, the notes here, right? And I had, like, little sections, but we've honestly kind of gone over everything. Yeah. And so, I guess, before we end this off, right, I want to ask, what do you guys think the future holds in terms of licensed games? So I know that we have kind of, you know, I've asked, like, are they making a comeback, like, that sort of thing. You know, what are your predictions in, like, 5 years from now? Where do you think we'll be at in terms of licensed games? Justin, go.
I don't know if it's going to happen. I hope it happens, but developers are going to, if they continue with this whole trend of licensed games, specifically based off of, like, movies, like more Star Wars games, Indiana Jones, James Bond, they're going to have to listen to the players and the fans more, because, like, my first thought is, when Star Wars Battlefront first came out, everybody was so excited, specifically the second one, because there was supposed to be so much more content in the first one, but it was so hard to, like, people were like, I want to play as Darth Vader, but it took, like, somebody did the, like, math, and it took over, like, 100 hours to grind to get to play Darth Vader. And so all those fans who wanted to play as Darth Vader were so upset. So I think it's going to take a lot of developers, not just, like, which EA kind of did this at first. They went, oh, you're letting us work on Star Wars games? All right, money, 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 money. It's like what EA did for, like, money. Like, people will pay to play Star Wars games. And now they're realizing, hey, hopefully and maybe we can get more players and people to play longer if we actually listen to the people who want to play this and work with them instead of just making these games to get their money. And it seems like Disney is realizing, like, all right, EA, like, although we like money, we also want to make people happy, so we're going to have other people try this. So I think that's going to be a big thing, is just more listening to fans is what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, specifically with EA, they really got kicked in the balls this generation. They said single-player games are dead, and then their single-player game, Jedi Fallen Order, is one of the best-selling games of the entire generation. And, you know, their sports games are just continuing to get kind of, like, dwindle right now in terms of, like, critic scores. And, like, Jesus, I would hate to be a sports game developer right now, because always, every year, the user score is terrible. Same for COD and, like, shooters. Yeah. It's always terrible. Everybody always hates them. And it's like, they still play them and they still make their money. But, like, you know, yeah, it just seems like this generation has been hard on them. And, you know, again, most of, like, when I talk about EA specifically, back to that, like, most of the hardships EA has endured this generation is their fault. They've made a lot of stupid decisions, and they have been money hungry. And so I'm hoping things will be better this generation, because I honestly think this generation is going to be the best generation we've seen, just in terms, like, of everybody, you know, because I think a lot of people have kind of been kicked down. I think Ubisoft, they got to the point where their open world games got very generic, and people called them out, and they're like, okay, we're going to do better. EA, we just talked about. Microsoft, they're like, where are the games? And so they bought a ton of developers, and they're like, okay, we're gonna start making games for you guys, we're gonna start doing things for you. And I think the Series X generation is where Xbox is gonna come back. You know, Sony's been yelled at that they don't play nice, and I'm hoping we'll see them start playing nice. I mean, in terms of crossplay, we've seen developments there. You know, that's a thing that we're seeing this generation right out the gate. Crossplay, cross generation, that sort of thing. Really cool stuff. Everybody's kind of, I mean, even Nintendo is playing nicer with others, right? Like where you see these Nintendo characters coming over to Xbox, or the Xbox characters coming to Nintendo. Not necessarily vice versa. Nintendo, they're a little, I don't think we'll ever see Mario in the next Halo game, but, you know.
They're a little protective of their characters.
Yeah. But, you know, they're at least being like, hey, we want your stuff on our stuff. So, you know, all over the place. I mean, you can play as Kratos in Fortnite, so you could go play as Kratos on your Nintendo Switch if you want. So you can play as Master Chief on your Nintendo Switch. But we still haven't seen Samus in Fortnite, so don't know what's going on over there. But
I feel like that'll happen really soon.
I feel like we should have seen it already, though, because they released Kratos, and then they released Master Chief. You would think by now, like, I feel like Nintendo said no. Maybe we will, hopefully, but I feel like Nintendo said no. I don't know. Fingers crossed. But anyway, what about you, Trace? What do you see licensed games being 5 years in the future? Your prediction. Where do you think we're at?
I feel like I feel like they need to bring a lot more like remastered games. Like if like Dexter's Laboratory, they need to bring like remastered games like that back. Old games. They need to bring old games back.
If they were to remaster Star Wars Knights of the Republic, I would be so happy. They would have my money.
They need to just.
Honestly, they had.
I feel like they just need to bring.
EA had the Star Wars IP. They've had it for 7 years now, and they didn't even think about handing it over to BioWare to make a new KOTOR. Like, why? Why? Like,
I don't know, man.
All right, well, it's ridiculous. But, yeah. I personally, more so than remasters, I want full remakes. Like, after seeing what Capcom did with Resident Evil 2, I just... You know, I want full remakes. And Blue Point with Shadow of the Colossus and now Demon Souls, right? I want full quality remakes where it's not just, you know, where the main aspect of the game is the same, but like, you know, take the idea of the game, right? And make it what you dreamed it was going to be. Because a lot of stuff, you know, exactly. Like some games play very poorly in 2020 where they didn't in 2000. You know, like it's different because that's just the technology they had. Now we have access to a lot more technology. And so, you know, like Dexter's Laboratory might be a good game. But is it a good game in 2021? That is probably no. And so...
Well, I should say... Yeah, I like the way you put remake it.
Yeah. Like, look at the bones of the game, right? And just build around that.
Right.
You know, like I said.
What game was it? There was a Mario game that just recently became popular again. I forget what it was. There's
a lot of Mario games that are popular. You're going to have to specify.
Oh, you talking Mario 3D World?
Was that the one with like the penguins and you had to jump into the picture frames?
No, that's Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one just recently became popular. Like I've been looking at Twitch, and that's all over my Twitch.
Well, that would be because they just happened to release a port of it onto the Switch called Super Mario 3D All-Stars that is currently not with me. What the hell did I do with it? I don't know where my copy is. So, you know, that's fun. Did I? I didn't get rid of it, did I? I don't think I would kill myself if I did. Wait, what? Okay.
Did you leave it out there? Or out in your living room or something?
No. I mean, the actual game itself should be in with my other games. Because I have my cases here for my Switch games, but I actually have a little cart with all the cartridges in it, so it'll be in there if anything. I just don't know where the case is. That is Interesting indeed. But anyway, yeah, I have that. So yeah, they re-released Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy all in one. I played a little bit of 64, but I haven't touched it since, just because I'm terrible at committing. So yeah, oh well. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, but full remake. Like, people have been clamoring for a Super Mario 64 remake for a while, and I think 3D All Stars kind of like made that even louder. People are like, oh, like, this game's like, it. Yes, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but like in 2020, you know, it's
very fun to watch. I can put it to you that way. It's fun to watch, but if they would remake it, it would probably be a lot better.
Yeah, but so we'll see what happens in terms of, you know, licensed games making a comeback. But we shall move on forward to the gaming news for the week, which I think there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about. So first off, the God of War studio, aka Sony Santa Monica, has an unannounced second project seemingly still in the works due to a job listing for an art director. So the tweet in question says, "We are seeking an experienced art director for the development of a new unannounced title." That means it's not for God of War Ragnarok. So they're working on something else. And I really doubt it's God of War 3 or whatever you want to call it. God of War 6, I don't know. It's, you know, they probably aren't working on a sequel to Ragnarok already. So be it a new IP, something,
Ragnarok
you know.
isn't even finished.
Exactly. Although that does give me hope that it might hit this year. Personally, I still think it's going to get delayed to early 2022. Just because with Horizon being in the fall, I really don't think we need it.
Yeah.
As much as I want it. I don't think we need it. So I just feel like, especially with COVID, that's my thing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, 2018 to 2021, that's 3 years to make a game, which is the average time. Like, it can be done. But COVID is where I think it's going to be pushed back. And so
I could see a pushback to like spring 2022.
Yeah,
I could see that.
That's my guess. But you know,
with COVID, you'd think that you'd have more time because you'd be able to sit at home and develop it and mess around with it, you know.
But those people still have to be paid. You're still working the same amount of hours, and you're also dealing with a lack of productivity because the world is on fire. And so, I mean, in a sense, yes. Like, a lot of people think, oh, the game industry would thrive in this pandemic environment, and, you know, in terms of playing games, yes. But making games, when you're used to all being in an office together, but now you're all separated and have to send stuff, like, you know, across and everything, it can definitely make things a lot more difficult. And game developers have said that. That's why we've gotten all of these delays, is because of COVID. And so,
yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, they're working on something else, which has me excited, because as much as I love the God of War franchise, I do want to see them try other things, and I know Cory Barlog has wanted to try other things, and so I don't know if Cory Barlog is involved with this. Honestly, kind of likely he might not be, as he's, you know, kind of working on God of War, whereas other people are working on a new project, and maybe, you know, he might have a role in it, but he might not be directing per se. But, you know, yeah, I think it's cool. And so, yeah, I'm still excited for Ragnarok, and I'm excited to see what else they're working on. But next up, Ninja Theory's Project Mara is set in a single, incredibly realistic apartment. And so I encourage you to look.
I saw that.
Yeah, I encourage you guys to look this up because, my God, these screenshots look gorgeous. So
I saw that, and I went, what's the difference?
Yeah. They have some pictures that are like a real photo of a sink versus an in-engine rendering of the sink, and it's like...
It's like the in-engine rendering looks more real.
Yeah, it is nuts. But yeah, so Ninja Theory are the developers of Hellblade. They're currently working, like, their main project is Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, and so I assume this is probably what their next project will be after Hellblade, and so I wouldn't expect this anytime soon, but they do seem to be tinkering around with the engine, right? And so, yeah, we've seen some incredible stuff. So while I wouldn't expect this anytime soon, it looks like it's going to be cool. A cool, like, atmospheric little thing that's going on that's just really pushing the boundaries. I really doubt this is coming to Xbox One. This looks like it's going to be a next-gen game, like next-gen only, and I am here for it. So,
yeah, it looks like something that won't be able to run on a base PS4. Like,
yeah, I don't expect it to. So, yeah, but you know, we've talked about Sony, we've talked about Microsoft. Now let's go back to Sony. For Sony's new San Diego team is apparently working on, quote, existing franchises. So this is interesting, as this studio, we still don't know what they're working on. Basically, back in, there's a segment of a previous studio head that detailed his work that said, quote, his latest achievement is having built a brand new all-star AAA action-adventure development team for PlayStation. Based in San Diego and utilizing proprietary engine technology, this team was assembled to expand upon existing franchises and craft all new stories for the next generation of gamers. And you know what that means? That means that all the rumors that they're working on a new Uncharted game are probably true. Yeah. So here's my thing. I was one that I thought Uncharted was dead. I thought that, you know, they moved on, you know, because Naughty Dog is so busy. But now it all makes sense, because I do think they'll hand it off to someone else, because back a couple months before Last of Us 2 launched, they said that they would their next project would either be The Last of Us Part 3 or a new IP. They didn't say anything about Uncharted. Like, they were like, nah. Yeah. And so I don't think this is Uncharted 5. Especially since in the way it was worded, where it's like expand upon existing franchises. I don't necessarily want to say it's just like a spin-off. Like, I do think this is the next big Uncharted, but I don't think Nathan Drake won't be a part of it, or, you know, now I say this having not gotten, like, I have not played Uncharted 4, so he could be dead for all I know. But
yeah, I don't know. I haven't gotten to 4 yet.
Yeah, I'm literally halfway through 2, so I don't know the full story. But yeah. And so, you know, I don't know that full story, but I feel like it will be a full Uncharted game, but it won't be Uncharted 5. So, yeah. But I'm fairly confident at this point.
I mean, again, also not knowing what happens in 4, since they're saying expand upon existing franchises, I could see their way of expanding Uncharted is introducing the next big character of Uncharted, and having, if Nathan Drake is still alive, Nathan Drake kind of be the teacher, like the one who teaches this new person or shows this new person, or something in that area.
I was just going to say, something's wrong with his camera.
What do you mean?
His camera's like green and fuzzy.
I don't notice anything. Oh, I don't know. He's got lights in the background, but he's looking pretty cute to me.
He's like all cut up on my end.
I don't know. Your Wi-Fi was really bad at the start, so maybe it's a Wi-Fi connection thing. But because you're okay for me now, but
perfect.
Well, it's because I'm always perfect. But I don't know.
That is true.
Yeah, he was good for me, but
back.
Man, you made me lose my train of thought. Oh, so here's the thing, right? So here, okay. Tom Holland is starring as Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie. So what they're doing is they're making Uncharted Homecoming, where Tom Holland does the mocap for someone who's not Nathan Drake, who's this new mentor, and basically Nathan Drake is like Iron Man. It's just a ripoff of Spider-Man Homecoming, right? But it's, you know, with Nathan Drake as Iron Man and then this new person as Spider-Man, right? It just follows the exact same plotline.
Yeah.
Yeah, they teased it all the way back when they said that Tom Holland was playing Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what it's got to be.
Cool.
I don't see any other thing. I don't see any other way.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so they're working on stuff, and we just made a exclusive scoop on Uncharted 5, New Beginnings, Homecoming, Horizons.
Only here.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Next week we'll have Tom Holland on to answer your guys' questions. So yeah, I'll DM him on Instagram and hope for a response. And so next up, we've got.
It doesn't work. That's bad.
Yeah. And so, next up we got some Resident Evil news, which I'm very excited for because Resident Evil Village is my most anticipated game of the year. So we are getting a showcase tomorrow, today, January 21st at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. whatever GMT is, because I don't remember what that's actually, titled. But we're supposed to get our first new gameplay, like our first actual gameplay of Resident Evil Village. We're supposed to basically get like a deep dive on it, right? I'm betting we get a release date because there's been rumors that it's going to launch in April. And so I bet we'll get a release date. And we're also supposed to get some more Resident Evil news, which I think is going to be big because this is Resident Evil's 25th anniversary. So we could get a Resident Evil 4 remake announcement? Question mark? Maybe? I don't know. Because, like I said, I think it was back in December, Capcom had that big leak. And one of the things that was leaked, which Capcom confirmed, they didn't confirm the contents of the leak, but they did confirm there was a breach. One of the leaks was Resident Evil 4 is in development, like a remake of Resident Evil 4 is in development. So that might happen tomorrow. I'm very excited. Or today. I'm very excited. Very excited. I hope so. I think we'll get some other stuff too, like similar to like Mario's 35th anniversary. How they had like the pins and this, and like I bet there'll be a bunch of fluff in here where it's like, yeah, we've got new shirts and merch and stuff celebrating the 25th anniversary, all that stuff. But I'm just excited for Resident Evil Village and just any other potential game news. Like all the merch stuff, yeah, that's cool. Maybe I'll check it out, but like I don't care. I want the game stuff, and I do think there will be stuff other than games. Well, also we're getting like 2 movies. Like, we're getting an origin story movie.
Resident Evil movie?
Yeah, we're getting an origin film that's coming, I believe, this year. They just wrapped up filming. I think it's supposed to come in the fall. So maybe we'll get a trailer for it. I don't know. And then there's something coming to Netflix. It actually might be a show. It's like a CGI animated show or something coming to Netflix. And so maybe we'll get news on that, too. I don't know. But I'm excited. So, yeah, that is tonight at 5 p.m. Very excited to check that out. And so, finally, right at the tail end, like literally, I think it was before I even uploaded. Yeah, before I even uploaded last week's podcast, this got announced. New Pokemon Snap got a release date, which I was surprised. I didn't think it was coming this soon.
I did. I don't know, man. I'm the same here. I was just as surprised to see it.
Yeah, but it's coming April 30th, 2021. So yeah, we got a brand new trailer. You can pre-order it now. It's exciting. I'm one of those that I was a little baby child, so I never played the original Pokemon Snap, but I know it's really, really loved. And I love what Pokemon's been doing in this new Switch era. Like, I loved Pokemon Sword, and so I'm really excited to check this one out. I also really love Pokemon Let's Go, so I'm excited to try this one out. I think it's going to be cool. And Nintendo's just proven that they are not stopping anytime soon with their exclusives. I mean, their spring is pretty packed compared to Sony and Microsoft, at least from what we have confirmed. So, honestly, people talking about console wars, and there was also news this week that 87% of all console sales in 2020 were the Switch. Not Nintendo, the Switch. Yeah. The Switch was accounted for 87%. Now, to be fair, like, I'm not super, like, because people are like, what about the console launch? I'm not super surprised because of stock limitations. But even, like you combine that with all the PS4s and all the Xbox Ones and all of that stuff, and it's like, Switch sold 87%. And they even had shortages for, like, half the year. So, like, it is nuts. The Switch is selling so well. I personally think
Animal Crossing, man.
Yeah, Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing literally caused the shortage with coronavirus. Like, the combination of the two wiped it out. Yeah. I honestly think the Switch will be the best-selling console in history. Like, it's not showing any signs of slowing down, and it's just, yeah. And I do believe that it's our own fault that we're not getting the Switch Pro because of it. At least not yet.
I think they're gonna time it so as soon as people, like, not necessarily losing interest, but as soon as those Switch sales kind of even out, I think they're just gonna drop that Switch Pro and
for sure
shoot right back up there.
Absolutely.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Because recently I've
Yeah, no.
recently been seeing everybody like buy Switches, but then like a few weeks later they'll try to sell them. So I don't know if that.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Know about that.
Because, you know, you see these sales, you don't necessarily see how much of them are resold, but they're still out there, you know? Like, there's still people that are buying them from the other people. But I do understand what you mean, because I have a friend who sold his Switch. Like, he literally bought his Switch for Pokemon, beat it, and then sold it. I don't condone that decision. I think that was a stupid decision, but he literally still has my copy of Breath of the Wild, and he hasn't had a Switch for almost a year now. So... that's interesting, but anyway. Yeah, I know. I mean, I mean, he's the only person I know, but the fact that I know one person who did that, but still, like, you see it everywhere. I mean, I talk to basically anybody. 9 out of 10 people I talk to have a Switch, and some, like, a lot of them aren't even, like, they don't consider themselves to be gamers, right? And they have a Switch. So the Switch is doing insanely well. You are in the minority, Trace, and I will continue to bully you until you find a way to get a Switch. And so, yeah.
Bully me away, I guess.
But yeah, so that's all the gaming news this week. Now let's get into the games coming this week. We're getting in here, right? We got those first couple weeks no games, but now we're getting some cool stuff. One I'm very excited for. Yes. But first off, we've got Ride 4 for PS5 and Xbox Series X today. We finally got the next-gen versions of this motorbike game. So are you ready to live the best gaming experience that a motorcycle fan can get? Ride 4 will spark your competitive soul with hundreds of bikes, dozens of tracks, and a whole new level of realism. So, yeah, that's the thing. Second up, we've got Atelier Riza 2, Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy for PS5, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC on Tuesday. So this story takes place 3 years after the events of the previous game, Atelier Riza, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout, and depicts the reunion of Riza and her friends who go through new encounters and goodbyes to discover a true priceless treasure. If this screams generic JRPG to you, it does to me too.
Sounds like a Disney movie.
Yeah, it sounds like a direct-to-DVD Disney movie that came out in the late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, right? Like it's one of the Tinkerbell movies, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, yeah. I'm pretty sure, Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy, that's a Tinkerbell movie for sure. But, you know. But it actually, like, I looked at some screenshots of it and it looks kind of cool. Like, I mean, it does, you know, look like just any other JRPG, but, you know, if this game got a sequel, I mean, it probably isn't too bad. But yeah, it comes out on Tuesday. And then what I'm excited for, also on Tuesday, is Cyber Shadow for PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The world has been taken over by synthetic life forms. A desperate plea for help sets Shadow, the sole survivor of his clan, on one last mission to uncover what started the path to perpetual ruin. So, everything about this game seems generic. Why would I be excited about it? Well, my friends, it is being developed by Yacht Club Games. And if you know them, they are the developers of Shovel Knight. It is their first game since Shovel Knight. They finally moved on. It's literally the exact same aesthetic. It is a cyberpunk Metroidvania, and I am so excited. Yeah. I think it's going to be great. Like, they have come out with like 5 campaigns for Shovel Knight. Now they're finally doing something new, and I'm very excited. If Shovel Knight was The Witcher 3, Cyber Shadow is Cyberpunk, and maybe it'll actually be good. Not that Cyberpunk isn't good. I have mixed feelings about that. But anyway.
Cyberpunk is a decent game for how much I've played of it.
It is a very fun game. It is just, it makes me very sad. Anyway, Cyber Shadow. I'm very excited for it. Don't miss out on this game. I'm curious to see the reviews about it, but I have little doubts. I'm excited. And you know, it's an indie game. It's cheap. You know, I mean, I don't know, how much is it? If it's a $60 game, I will give you a Switch, Trace. I'm saying you that right now. I'm making a promise if it's $60. And it actually doesn't have a price yet. Hold up, let me see if it does for Switch. I looked on Steam.
I got it right here. Pre-order for $15.
Okay, 15. Gotcha. So yeah, $15.
Yeah.
That's actually honestly cheaper than I thought. I thought it would be like 30.
I I thought it'd be 20 to 30. Yeah.
Well, actually, Nintendo, it says it's 20, but it's marked down to 15 for pre-orders, I'm assuming, and so it is a $20 game. But even that, I expected, especially with the success of Shovel Knight, like, Yacht Club earned their reputation. Like, I feel like they could charge more. But then again, maybe this is kind of like, maybe it's the same thing where they'll continue to add content onto it and that sort of thing. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm excited. Cyber Shadow, cool stuff. But before we get out of here, let's talk about the games that we've been playing this week. Honestly, I haven't played a ton of games, but I've dipped my toes into quite a few. I played a little more Echo VR. That continues to be a fun time. It's a multiplayer VR zero gravity sports frisbee game, and it's really, really fun. So I was playing that with Bakel. I played a little more Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because I'm back in the apartment, got back with the boys, so we got to play Smash. Tried out Sephiroth for the first time. He's aggressively okay. I've platinumed Miles Morales, which I'm very excited about, and so I've now moved on to attempting to platinum Spider-Man Remastered. So it's the first time I've dipped my toes into the game a couple times since I originally beat it. So I beat it in the first weekend it came out. I didn't even buy it. I just rented it from Redbox because you used to be able to do that, and I just no-lifed it the entire weekend. I 100%ed it. I didn't platinum it, but I completed everything in the game. And so I did it all in one weekend. And then I returned it, and I spent $6 versus $60. So that's how you do it, folks. But you can't do it anymore because Redbox doesn't rent games. And so now you can do, like, GameFly, I guess. But, anyway, that's how I survived back in the day.
GameFly still a thing?
GameFly is still a thing, surprisingly. So, yeah, they actually pretty often now they do sales where they, like, sell their used games where, like, they'll actually, like, give you the case and everything for it, and it's, like, for pretty cheap. And so I've been seeing that quite often where they'll do used game sales. But it just obviously doesn't have the packaging because, it's been opened so they can, give it away. But yeah, so, yeah, I've been playing Marvel Spider-Man. I'm like in the second act now, so I know that Martin Lee's a dirty little bastard. So working to take him down. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Although there's so many little things that they improved with Miles Morales. Like, I'm definitely having fun with Spider-Man, especially as I'm getting more into it and unlocking more things. But I'm so excited for Spider-Man 2 now because it's not quite as bad as going back from, like, Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed 1. I don't think it's quite as big a jump. But they definitely made some improvements with Miles that I'm like, man, I miss those playing the original. And so, but, yeah, I really like Marvel Spider-Man a lot. So I've been replaying that, trying to platinum it this time. And they also added some new trophies for Remastered. And they added one for New Game Plus where you have to complete the game on Ultimate Difficulty. Don't know how that's going to go for me, but we'll try it. But yeah.
Oh, God, I tried that. I tried Ultimate Difficulty, and I gave up very fast.
I'm honestly pretty good at this game, so I might be able to do it, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I've played a lot of Spider-Man over the past few weeks. Like, I think it was like 30-ish hours it took me to platinum Miles Morales. I beat the campaign twice, and I, like, 100%ed everything and did a bunch of achievement hunting and all that. And so, and then I probably put like 5 hours into Spider-Man Remastered so far. So I've played a lot of Spider-Man, and I've developed quite the Spidey sense, if you will. And so, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't consider myself to be all that great at video games, so I don't know if that achievement will probably be very difficult for me. Because honestly, 100%ing Miles Morales was really easy. Like, the achievements were pretty easy. But yeah, I don't know about the other stuff. But I also got back into Ring Fit Adventure because I was like, I need to get myself in shape because literally over break, so this 2-month break that we've had, I have gained 30 pounds because I have done nothing. And so I said, that ends now. And I literally, in 4 days, I've lost 8 pounds. Pretty proud of myself. Climb on the mat. And so, yeah, I've done some Ring Fit Adventure because that thing kicks your butt. And it makes me realize that I don't have legs, apparently. But... And then I dipped my toes into Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, Complete Edition. A game that I enjoyed much less than I thought I would. But I'm committed. I want to stick with it. It's just, it doesn't seem like my type of game. But I was very excited for it because I love Scott Pilgrim. But, like, it's an oldish arcadey beat-em-up that was before my time. Like, it's clearly trying to mimic 90s arcade games that I just wasn't alive for. So, yeah. It's a very difficult game as well, but I do want to stick with it because I know it's one of those games where the more you play it, the better you'll get at it, and it becomes easier. So I know, if I stick with it, I'll probably enjoy it more. But, with other games commanding my attention and all that. But I do want to play it some more. But, yeah, I played a little bit. But, Justin, what have you been playing?
It's my turn. What I've been putting the most hours into, I know you're going to be disappointed by this, playing more than Immortals Phoenix Rising, is The Forest.
Hey, man,
and that is because it was on sale for like PlayStation's end of the year sale.
I saw that.
Me and my roommate were just looking for like something that we can play together, specifically kind of survival style. And I was like, hey, I played The Forest back when it was like in open beta and was super buggy. I remember it being pretty good for even though how buggy it was, so we got it, and
it was like Skyrim, buggy but fun.
Yeah, and it's not even that buggy anymore. We've been having a lot of fun, building the base and all that, putting a lot of hours into it. And then I played a lot of Immortals Phoenix Rising when I got it a few weeks ago. I got through like probably half the game in like a few days, and then I set it aside because of The Forest. But I'm excited to return to it. I plan on returning to it pretty here soon. And then Star Wars Battlefront 2 is just a game I'm pretty much always playing.
I need to get into that more. I really do.
When I'm bored, not sure what to do, I'll just hop on, and pretty good at sniping on that game now, so I'll just hop on and snipe.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. What about you, Trace? What have you been dipping your toes into this week?
It's kind of like a very weird mixture. I've played some Rocket League, GTA 5, BMG Drive, Rainbow Six Siege, and Rust.
Gotcha. So you're all over the place. No COD this week?
No COD this week.
Oh man.
Rust has been on the rise.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I don't know how it happened. The craziest games are getting popular right now.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just because new games are releasing slower now, so people are having to dip back into games they used to play a lot.
Yeah, I get that. Makes sense.
I think I have like 7 or 8 hours into Rust, and I played it for like a day or two.
I played Rust years ago. I played it for like 15 minutes. I was like, this sucks, and I never played it again. But
I have 4 hours in it, and then there's one game, I think it's Beam. I have like 15 hours in Beam. 20 hours, it's 20.8 hours in Beam.
Nice. I'm about to get crazy busy, so I'm very excited to not be able to play video games. So, yeah, I want to pick up Hitman 3 so bad, but I'm so broke. It sucks. But hopefully I'll pick up Hitman 3 soon. I'm really excited to play that.
It's getting good reviews.
It's getting great reviews. It's sitting at like an 88 on Metacritic right now.
Yeah.
And plus I'm going to pick it up on PS5, so then I can try it out with the PlayStation VR. So I have an excuse to put that stupid thing on again. But I'm very excited. I really, really want to play that game. But yeah. Anyway, so that is going to be it for this episode of Game Patrol. Thank you, Justin and Trace, for joining me today. It is always a pleasure with you fine gentlemen. And so let us know your thoughts. If you're listening on Spotify or any of our other podcast services, go on over to YouTube. We're Game Patrol. Go talk to the stuff. We're not I think there's is there a Roblox channel called Game Patrol? I don't know. I found out there was another one. When I made Game Patrol, there were no other Game Patrols because I specifically looked the name up everywhere. So I'm just saying I was first. But I think there's like 1 or 2 more Game Patrols out there. But look us up on YouTube. Comment down below any thoughts or opinions y'all had on this episode. All that fun stuff. Be back next week for some more gamey, fun news time extravaganzas. And so, once again, we'll see y'all later. Adios.